Today we're going to show you how to install the electrical connections on an Eaton e-locker. We've already installed the locker inside the diff. You basically just drill a hole and you put the pigtail out and make sure it's all sealed up. And we'll show you how to make up the electrical connections in the Jeep. So first, you got to plumb this guy out of your diff, and you'll end up with two little crimped connectors. You can kind of see them in there. And they give you this plastic plug, and basically all you got to do is take those two connectors and push them into the back of this guy until they poke out of the front there. So this would be the male side. Then it connects to the harness, which we'll just plug in, and then we'll zip tie it up the upper link. I ran it up over here. I'm gonna zip tie it to the hard brake lines, so that way it's out of the way of the steering shaft and out of the way of the exhaust and all that stuff. They give you this really long wire, and I'm just gonna coil this up really tight, probably hide it underneath this battery tray. They give you this much wire so that way in case you're doing a rear locker, you'll have enough. Anything that's black is ground. For me, I don't like a lot of wires running around and through everything and chasing everything back to the battery. So what I do is wherever this mounts, I just cut this as short as I can and zip it close to the body as possible. So the chassis is grounded, so you can zip it anywhere. It just kind of cleans up your wiring, and it makes the stuff not have to snake through everything. So all the black wires are gonna be ground.
So this is the switch, right?
This is the switch. This is your ground. This is your switch leg, which is going to activate your locker. And this blue wire is the accessory power. They give you this little piggyback fuse, which is controversial. If they supply it, I'll install it. I'm not really too picky. Would it be better to have its own separate circuit? Probably. As far as that goes, this will do good enough for what we do. I chose the radio fuse because it's the same 10 amp. You're on the same amperage rating for it, and basically you'll just take that little 10 amp fuse, plug this one in, and then put that 10 amp fuse back into this small slot here. And that splits the power and runs your locker, and it'll run your radio as well. Once you run everything through the body and get it how you like it, you just butt connector these together. This guy here is a fuse, and basically it's got the big ring terminal on it, so you know that that's gonna go to your battery. I'm gonna take and mount this ring terminal on the battery, and then I'm probably gonna sneak this guy in here and mount it right there on the chassis, and then that red wire comes to this side of the fuse.
And then you got the yellow wire that goes to the switch.
Yellow wire goes to the switch. Black to ground, blue to accessory, and this black to ground. Pretty simple. I think I got my locker switches to fit right into these factory slots, so we're gonna see if they work. They're pretty much the same size of all these universal switches. Okay. What I think I did was I ground down the bottom of this just enough to where it slots in, so you can use your factory position. So first thing I did was I found my radio fuse, which this diagram is all messed up, but you can see well enough that I think it's right here. It says radio, and that would be this one here. So I'm gonna pull that one, and this is on an LJ. TJs might be different, I don't know, maybe it changes throughout the years. You'll just have to follow your diagram. But I'm gonna pull this one, I'm gonna put the piggyback fuse in it. I'm gonna put this fuse in, boom, and then I'm gonna slap this guy into that slot. Actually, we can turn this guy around and have the wire face the right way.
And that red wire goes to that blue wire, right?
The red wire, this red wire goes to the blue wire for the switch, yes.
Okay.
The glove box is very easy to take out.
Just pops in?
That's it.
Oh wow.
That's all it is. So take off your glove box, you pull everything out, and you just take this strap out, and then it just falls right out. Next thing we're gonna remove is this fascia for the dash, and it has two screws up here. I've already taken them out, but they're right here.
Oh, right there.
You gotta pull this off, this dash cover, and it just pops out. You just kind of grip it and rip it, and just, it'll pop right out. It's very easy. And then you take those two screws out. Then you can pull this whole front face out. And then you have two screws on both sides. We're gonna remove this guy. Now these screws are color coordinated and alphabetically installed.
Make sure you put on a piece of paper where everything goes.
And now we got this guy. We're gonna need a pick tool to open this up a little bit and then get that guy out. There we go. Yeah, I just kind of pry this guy up a little bit. This one was already cracked in the middle when we got in here, but they just pop out this way. Now we're gonna have to do some trimming.
See if we can get that switch.
See if we can get that switch to fit in there, yeah. So as you can see,
It's a little big.
sometimes you have to sneak up on it. That didn't work either. We're gonna have to trim this, and since we got a pretty flat face up here, you can't trim much up there. We're gonna just start trimming down here on the bottom and take a razor blade and just cut the sides. Yeah. All right, so I got a little carried away and I forgot to video the rest of the install, but I'll just kind of go through what I did here. You run the wires from this side, you run them kind of back through, and you end up with the accessory wire being right back here. Grip it on there and plug her in. The ground, I snuck up here, kind of got it up and out of the way and used this bracket here as the ground. A couple of these ARB switch covers laying around, so I didn't use the Eaton switch because the customer already had this style of switch, so I wanted to keep it the same. He just had a plain one. I went ahead and just labeled his front and rear lockers for him. Moved his radio switch to over here, so now he's got 2 factory, 2 rounds, and then 2 big rocker switches for his lockers. So that's what I did, and then you run the switch leg down this way, zip tie it all up and nice.
Which one was the switch leg?
The yellow and red one.
And that comes off the back of
The switch. Yep.
And
And then
that
you
goes-
just run it back here, up here, and make sure it's zip tied nice and pretty so your feet don't tear it off. I ran the switch leg through the firewall and then just ran it up. And the customer already had all of this big loom of accessory wires that he had, so I just kind of tagged onto it and brought it up and around where we planted the relay and the fuse right next to each other, and then tied it into the battery. And then ground was right here.
That's it.
He said that's it, so that's it.